Howdy, folks, and welcome to Moondream Press. My name is Michael H. Hansen, and I am the managing editor of Copper Dog Publishing. Moondream Press is one of our three imprints, actually the largest, and it deals with science fiction, fantasy, and horror. And I am very happy to introduce you to a very special project that we put out a couple of years ago, titled Cowboys in Space, or CJ, created by CJ Henderson. This is a single volume shared world reality, and it's set on another planet, and it deals with a lot of folks that you could say are cowboys. But it takes a very serious bent on this. Not a goofy, silly book at all like you might think. Good, solid science fiction, excellent characters, wonderful adventures, some of them quite frightening also. It was written by, of course, the creator of it, C.J. Henderson, with additional stories by Bruce Gehweiler, James Chambers, Robert E. Waters, and Jack Dolphin. And, I just loved these when I was reading them and editing them, and it was just fantastic. The official editor of this volume is Mike McPhail. Now, he just did a brilliant job of, putting all this together, combining it, and then, we were able to publish it posthumously after the unfortunate death of C.J. Henderson. And, yeah, it's just a wonderful volume. I'm hoping that we can, start selling this puppy, that, the authors can start making some money off of it. And I just think it's great. The cover design is by Helen Harrison, who's the graphic designer for Copper Dog Publishing. And, Moondream Press, we just love the heck out of this. I'd like to read you a little description off the back. Mankind's wanderlust will eventually carry our species to the stars. Earth's pioneers have always risen to the challenge of exploring our planet's remote rainforests, highest mountain peaks, deepest ocean abysses, and deadly frozen polar caps. Answering the wanderlust deep within us is exactly what motivated the colonists of Byanntia to brave the dangers of space travel. Their reward is the opportunity to test their mettle against an alien planet, to explore an unknown environment and attempt to survive on their own terms. Cowboys in Space, with kind of the subtitle Tales of Byanntia, which was actually the original title, but we decided to give it Cowboys in Space instead. I think I might read a little something for you. How about the official introduction by Bruce Gehweiler? And I apologize if I'm spelling the name wrong and pronouncing it wrong. It's Gehweiler. Introduction. Mankind's wanderlust will eventually carry our species to the stars. Earth settlers have always risen to the challenge of exploring our planet's rainforest. I realize this first paragraph is what's on the back of the book, so I'll jump ahead to the next paragraph. Science fiction has always brought together multiple genres to create fresh and exciting new fictional universes, and the Tales of Byanntia are no exception. As this great book takes place among the best space western adventures ever written, let us discuss some of the history of this science fiction subgenre. By definition, the space western includes western-style stories told on far distant planets or in the distant future. A similar but different subgenre is the science fiction story set in the old American West and not in outer space. Perhaps the best example of a space western is the TV series Firefly, which is set on distant planets in outer space. To date, the best example of a science fiction story set in the old American West is the graphic novel and movie Cowboys and Aliens. Another related subgenre is the science fiction steampunk set in the old American West. A steampunk is usually set in Queen Victoria's era of England, but recently it has been crossing the Atlantic. The steam-powered engines, weapons, high technology, and exotic zeppelins are still present, but the setting has been moved to the old American West. Will Smith, Kevin Kline, and Kenneth Branagh starred in the movie Wild Wild West, based on the TV series of the same name starring Robert Conrad, which is probably the most famous example of a steampunk science fiction western. Some of the most popular books in the space western subgenre of science fiction include Serenity, Those Left Behind by Joss Whedon, which was followed by Serenity, Better Days, and Serenity, The Shepherd's Tale. This was a follow-up to the Firefly TV series, which is one of the most critically acclaimed TV series ever. Trigun, Deep Space Planet Future Gun Action by Yasuhiro Naito. House of Cards, Star Trek New Frontier No. 1 by Peter David. Storm Dogs by David Hine, Cowboy Bebop by Yutaka Nanten, Hellhole by Kevin J. Anderson and Brian Herbert. Gene Roddenberry, the creator of Star Trek, described his TV show as a space western, since the goal of the USS Enterprise was to explore the final frontier in space. One of the latest and an excellent example of a space western is the book Hellhole, written by Kevin J. Anderson and Brian Herbert. Brian Herbert is the son of Dune creator Frank Herbert, and Kevin J. Anderson is a prolific science fiction writer who also happens to be the highest paid sci-fi writer in the world. As you read Hellhole, you will certainly see why this dynamic duo has garnered so much commercial success. Some of the base space westerns on film include Star Wars. Who can forget the memorable Mos Eisley Cantina scene in The Bounty Hunter Boba Fett? Star Trek, its 5-year mission to explore the new frontier of space. Outland, Peter Hyams hired Sean Connery to make a great space western about the marshal of a mining operation in deep space. Westworld, this is a fun science fiction western set in a future theme park where one gets to play cowboy and cowgirl with human-like robots. Alien, my favorite director Ridley Scott is known as a master of light and shadows, and the best example of his genius is this space western that reveals the grim reality of living on the frontier of known space. Battlestar Galactica, Glenn A. Larson created this space western about a lone flagship filled with a few surviving humans from distant colonies trying to find their way back to the legendary planet known as Earth. Babylon 5, J. Michael Straczynski created this excellent TV series and series of TV movies set on a space station at a crossroads of interstellar diplomacy and commerce. The spin-off series Crusade is also well worth watching. Firefly, Joss Whedon's critically acclaimed space western, and the spin-off movies Serenity are definitely worth watching. As you can see, you are more familiar with the space western and its cousins and the science fiction western and the science fiction steampunk western than you previously thought. So strap on your laser pistol and saddle up an alien beast for the fictional ride of your life as we take you on a journey to a distant planet called Byanntia. Bruce Gehweiler, Dallas, Georgia, USA. A shared world, different stories with different characters, all taking place on the same planet, all interacting sometimes a little bit more, a little bit less, giving you not quite a group novel, but so much more than a theme anthology, a great piece of science fiction. And once again, created by C.J. Henderson, edited by Mike McPhail, did a fantastic job on this, and written by C.J. Henderson, Bruce Gehweiler, James Chambers, Robert E. Waters, and Jack Dolphin. Yeehaw! Thank you for listening.